happy Saturday. So we are gonna go ahead and do some good algorithms this morning. So make sure you can see my screen, which is perfect. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do some code words with level 8, and we're gonna do count the odd numbers. Maybe I can make this a little bigger like that for now. Okay, we could do it like that. Okay, so what we're gonna do, so we're gonna receive an integer, it's a whole number, and positive. So return the number of positive odd numbers between or below n. So we're gonna receive, let me make this just a little bit bigger, 15, 7. Okay, so we're gonna receive an odd integer, whole number, and it's a positive number. We need to return the count of odd numbers below n. So if I have 3, then I anticipate to only see 1. That should return 1. If I have an example of 9, it should be 1, 3, 5, 7 below 9, and it doesn't go all the way up to 9. So this will return the count of 4. And so let me just add my own test in. So we're gonna assert equals, and we're gonna say this function is gonna take in the number 9, and I anticipate it to return back the count of 4. So okay, so the way I think about it in my head is we're gonna iterate up to n, count, we're gonna determine if it is an odd number. And the way to determine if anything is an odd number is if you mod by 2, if there's a remainder of 1, that means that number is odd. Then we're gonna turn the length, we're gonna increment the count. So for num in range, for num in range, and we're gonna start at, I think it's okay to go ahead and start at 0. We're gonna go all the way up to n, so we don't include n, because if we included n, it would be n plus 1, because the way range function works is this one's inclusive, this one's exclusive, and this one, we're going to say count is equal to 0 right now if num mod 2 equals 1, count plus equal 1. Then we're going to return count, and this will keep iterating up to n, as we anticipated right here. Found a love for cold brew, so that has been really good. Okay, so let's see. The way to do this, time is O of n, because we're going to iterate up to n amount that's passed in. Then we're going to read space is O of 1, because we're only returning count. I am trying to think if there's a way to do this faster. I think this should be, I was thinking using a list comprehension, and we'll iterate up to n amount, and you just take in the length that's passed into the list comprehension. You can definitely do that, but creating a list comprehension will still be O of n, because we still have to iterate through every n amount to determine if it's odd. So get add, then we didn't get commit. Okay. I want to go ahead and work on Structy, so let's go ahead. I love Structy. If you're looking for a good place to go ahead and start learning graphs, linked lists, well, all of the data structures and basics of those data structures, I highly recommend Structy. So let's go ahead and do this problem right here. I loved it. I love this problem because it's such a good basic starter one to work on. Basic starter for graphs to work on. So this function right here, we're gonna have to write has path that takes in, so it's gonna go ahead and take in a dictionary that represents the adjacency list of directed. That makes so much sense. Okay, so this one is a directed. Okay, so in a graph, you can be directed, undirected, and you can be weighted and unweighted. So directed and undirected means that you can only go to a very specific node if it's directed. If it's undirected, that means you can travel back and forth. There's no directions. And also, it can be weighted or unweighted. And weighted just means that it has traveling from that node and traveling on that edge to another node, that could be weighted. So that could mean that you could have it can have a weight of 5. So if you travel from this distance to this distance, it can have a weight of 5. And unweighted just means that there's no weight on it, so it's just technically free. It's technically in a way it's 0. So so we're gonna receive a graph. So we're gonna receive using list of graph. We have to return a boolean if source equals distance. If the source node is equal to the distance node. Otherwise, okay, so the way I envision with HasPath with graphs is that you think about DFS and BFS. And with DFS and BFS, so with BFS, that's considering the shortest path. And this is considering the shortest path, and it uses a queue. So I want to go ahead and show you how we would solve it using a queue. That looked weird for a second. Okay, so in Python, there's no specific queue, and what we definitely use is a deque. So from collections, import deque, and in this deque, we'll go ahead and make it our queue. So a deque means a double-ended queue. So you can go. So my understanding of it is you can use left and right of it. So double-ended. So it's almost like, I don't want to say it. I won't say it because I don't feel confident in saying it. But okay, so what we're gonna do is initialize the queue with our source node, and then we're gonna go ahead and look at the current node and check if the current node is equal to our distance node. Look at the current node, which is our source node, at the top of the queue, at the beginning of the queue, should I say. At the beginning of the queue, you're gonna check to see if it's the source node. Then we're just gonna return true. We end there, we end the function, and then we can just move on happily with our lives. But otherwise, what we could do instead of that if this is not if our current node, here doesn't equal our distance node, what we're going to do is we're going to check the neighbor. So we're going to check the neighbor node. Check the neighbor node. Add it to the end of the queue to be processed. End of the queue to be processed. And that will be it. So if we're gonna go ahead and key into F, so the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna say that Q is equal to DQ of source. So it's gonna capture in the source node, and we're gonna start that out in our DQ. And then while the queue, essentially this is saying that while the queue is not empty, while the queue still has a length in it, what we're gonna do is while queue, we're gonna do the DQ, and then we're gonna say that while queue, we're gonna look at the current node, and we're gonna say that hey, the current node pop left, and we're gonna say that if our current node is equal to our distance, then we're gonna return true. Else, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and say that for neighbor of graph of current, it's not of. I was like, wait a second, something's not working. For neighbor in graph of current, so now we're gonna go ahead and travel through its neighbor. We're gonna say that hey, if you for now we're gonna go ahead and process you as well. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna append our neighbor nodes so that we can process to see and check the node. And then after all of this, if we do not see it, then we're gonna return false. Yeah. Okay. But doing but doing BFS is perfect for doing like shortest path. If I just need to figure out something that's right next to me, then we'll do shortest path right here. More to come on this when we do more. So, but here, time is V plus E. I think it's V plus E. I'm gonna check in a bit, but I'm gonna explain my logic in a bit here. Okay. So V plus E, that time is V plus E because we're V stands for vertice, which is essentially the nodes. Edges means the path, the connection between the two nodes. And the reason why I say V plus E is because we're looking at the node itself, and then we're traveling through the path. So we need to keep track of that as well. Space-wise, it's OE because we're keeping track of the edges that we have. We're keeping track of the edges that we're looking through. I want to fully check that in a bit. So, but this is BFS. I want to do this DFS iteratively as well. And to do this DFS iteratively, we can use a stack. So with the stack, it is last in, first out. Last in, first out. It is last in, first out. So using a stack, it is last in, first out. And what we're going to do is, so we're going to initialize a stack with the source node. And then we're going to iterate through the neighbor. Well, essentially what we're going to do with the BFS is we're going to check if the source node is equal to our distant node, then we're going to return true. Else, we're going to keep going through the function and we'll iterate through the neighbor node. So essentially kind of very close to what we did for BFS, as you can see. Iterate through the neighbor node, add it to the stack to be processed. So in Python, stack is still going to be listed as an array. with the source node in a while stack. So while it's not empty, we're going to say that current is equal to stack.pop. And the reason why you want to do a stack.pop, since it's LIFO, you want to get the very last one at the top. So it's a pop. And you're going to say that if current is equal to distance, right? Distance, yeah. They're going to return true. Else what we're going to do is for neighbor and graph of current. For neighbor and graph of current, what we're going to do is stack dot push stack dot append neighbor return false. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna say that it's just it's the same thing as well for time and space, but more to come on that. So we're gonna correct ourselves in a bit. So we'll have to see. Okay. Now I want to do this recursively. In a way that I'm gonna go ahead and do this recursively. The way I'm gonna go ahead and do this recursively is to use the underlying function call. Use the underlying call stack. And then when I think about like recursive, I think about a base case, and I think about a base case when I want to exit the function, and a recursive case where I want to keep calling the function until I get to that base case where I can exit the function. To do this, we have to. Okay, so the base case, I know when I want to go ahead and exit is if the source is equal to distance, return true. Else, I will recursively keep call on the neighbor nodes. Call on the neighbor nodes until I reach. Call on the neighbor nodes. Else we're just gonna return false. So if source is equal to distance, then we're gonna return if source equals distance, return true. Otherwise what we're gonna do is we're gonna say that for neighbor in graph of source, we're gonna pass path, call it on the graph, the neighbor, and the distance node. And then we're gonna return false if we do not see it. Does that look right? Is source base case? Yes. Feel comfortable with that. Otherwise we're gonna say, hey, we're gonna keep calling. Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Okay, this one, yep. If source is equal to distance, if source is equal to distance for neighbor and graph of source, if the source is equal to distance, then we're gonna return true. Otherwise, let's go ahead and iterate through each neighbor in the graph source, and we're gonna pass in the neighbor for this source. Source distance, graph neighbor distance. Let me think about this, because base case, you want to go ahead and exit when we meet our condition. Otherwise, let's iterate through each of the neighbor. For neighbor, and we're going to say that if this is truly, we're going to return true. true, else what we're going to do is just return false if this does not exist. Otherwise, we're going to keep iterating through. Okay, yes. Because I was like, the reason why I want to keep calling this function is I want to keep checking to see if it's true. Yes. I want to look at his, killing me out here. But first search, okay, so it's O of E and O of N. O of E and O of N. O, E, O, because, is it because we're not keeping track of the vertices? Technically what we're doing here is that we're looking at, yes, vertices, because we're only traveling through the paths. Because say for instance, let's do another problem. I want to do shortest path. Okay, I didn't see all of that, so let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so we receive an edge list, 2 nodes. We need to return the shortest path between A and B. And see, when I stated A and B, so we're gonna return the shortest, length, return the length of shortest path. Okay, so this one's a little tricky. The best way for you to always work with is to turn, if you ever see an edge list, you always want to turn that into an adjacency matrix. A little easier to traverse through. And other things. I feel bad that I don't know exactly, but let me figure it out. I will figure it out and pinpoint back to you. I know for sure that it's easier to traverse through, a little better for time as well. So, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert our edge list into an adjacency matrix. And then we are going to iterate through adjacency matrix. But we want to pay attention to the fact that it's asking for the shortest path. And when I think about the shortest path, I'm going to use BFS with a Q. So that means I need to initialize with a beak. And then because when I think about path, I'm going to do a node in initialize with a deek. So I'm going to keep track of the distance associated with the node. Okay, also another thing to take into consideration is when you have an undirected graph versus a directed graph. Undirected, you always need a set to keep track of the nodes you visited. Create a set to keep track of nodes visited. If node has been seen, we're going to return false. Otherwise, iterate between the nodes. Iterate through the neighbor nodes. run to the distance. If all else fails, if all, after looking through everything, return -1. Okay. So the way I envisioned this graph is equal to build graph for edges. We're gonna do def build graph for edges. We're gonna say that graph is equal to this, and we're gonna say that for edge and edges, AB, and the way we're gonna pull out, this is deconstructing the edge. So this will be A, and this will be a B value. And we're going to say AB is equal to edge, and we're going to initialize it in our graph. If A not in graph is a graph of A, you're going to go to this. If B not in graph of B is equal to this, then we're going to say that graph of A, you're going to append B. Graph of B dot append A. Return the graph after you're done creating it. And then now we're going to say that from collections, we're going to import dq. Then we're going to say that, hey, our Q is equal to dq of node A. I was going to say node A. We're going to say, hey, we've seen you already, and you are, your distance right now is 0. I'm going to add another one, and we need a set for visited. And out here, I'm going to say that you have been visited. Set like this. Node of A. And then we're going to say that while Q, we're going to say current is equal to, this one will be deconstructing it, node and distance is equal to current Q dot pop left. So we're popping out the node, and as you can see, the node right here will be our node name itself and our distance. And we're going to say check if node is equal to node B. Then we're just going to return the distance associated with the node that we see. Else, if it's not, we're going to go ahead and iterate through our neighbor in graph node. We're going to say that Q dot append then neighbor, Q dot append neighbor and distance +1. I don't know if I'm destructuring it right. I think it'll be like this. No, I want to add it not like a tuple, but like an array itself. And then that's what I'm gonna do. So it's gonna keep adding the distance. Oh yes, okay. I have my set here as well. So for neighbor in the graph node, if neighbor not in visited, if I haven't seen you before, okay, then we're gonna keep track of you, and we are gonna see you now, the node visited at neighbor. Then we're gonna go ahead and append you to the queue. Otherwise, after searching everything, it's gonna be a -1. Okay, I think it's my DQ. I think I want to add it as a tuple. Can I print it in here? print Q. What is my Q look like right now? I don't think this is wrong. I just saw, oh, I want to see what it looks like. The way to best figure out what it looks like, path.py, and then I want to say edges equal this. And now I want to call the path print shortest path with edges, and I want to pass it with W, and I want to pass it with Z. And then now I'm going to call this file Python March. Okay, so your value are not enough to unpack. I want to see, let me just see what I currently have. Visited equal, okay, see, so we have a W0, perfect, W0. Yeah, we want to start W. Because this is a tuple of the path. See? While Q graph equals build edges. So we're going to create our adjacency matrix. Then we're going to say Q Q is equal to DQ. I know just my Q and my visited. And okay, so I think visited will be this. And I think my DQ will be an array. No! Okay. What is it? Oh, so, okay. So, it's an set is an array. Array. Oh, okay, so, see, DQ is an array of tuples. An array of tuples. Oh, so close, so close. Wait, let me be right back. we were there, but we're so close. But we'll keep working on it. So, yes. Okay. I also wanted to work on some. What would I call this? Button experiment. So I started playing with sandbox environment. So I started playing around with the sandbox environment, and with the sandbox environment, what I want to get myself familiar with is with other IDEs for technical. I was like, that smells weird. For technicals, and so I thought I'd get myself familiar with sandbox just in case one day someone does say, "Hey, the only option you have is just sandbox," and I'm like, whoa, because I'm a Visual Studio girl, so yeah. Okay, so I want to go ahead. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a button component. And I want to go ahead and do this with React and TypeScript. And then what I am going to do here is I'm going to create a components folder. Typically, I like to create a components folder that I know will be components folder that will be, well, technically for buttons it's not really a components folder. Components are reusable code that you will go ahead and be using throughout the whole entire app. Button is reusable code, but typically it's more, what's the word I'm looking for, utils, something, yes. But component is actually, for me, when I think about a component, it's like a section part of the web page. I guess a button is a section part of the web page as well, but you know what I mean. I promise I'll clarify it out for you. Okay, so I love this because I get to see, not saying that you can't get to do this somewhere else too, but import button from components. So from our components folder, components, yep. So this is the relative path, and we're gonna go ahead and put our button here. Button, which is a component. And the way to know if this is working is I'm gonna say const button is equal to this, and then we're gonna make it into like a div. Close out this div. We're gonna say the h2. This is button h2. Export default button. Cannot be used. Okay, it returned a void type, so that means I wrote this wrong. Const button export button. Oh no, it's not. Export default button. Export default const button. Here's our function. Sorry, hold on. Let me get my water quickly. Syntax error, unexpected token of this. Oh, you're right. Return this. Because in the return part, we're gonna say the button is equal to this, and then we're gonna say that you're a function, because all components are a function. We're gonna return, typically this will auto align, correct this for me, or make it prettier. It'll format the code to make it prettier. Return div. You don't like my divs, huh? Maybe it's my divs. H2 export button. Yeah, you should be export. Because if I think about it, when I usually import, I don't think I need this though, but import React from React. I don't think I need that. Yeah, no, it's not that. Cons button. Okay, so we're gonna make this button, and in this button we're gonna have a label and an onClick function, a disable property, and a variant property. So when I think of interface button, so when I think about like the button in the requirements that it's asking for, I want to go ahead and create an interface, and I want a label, and it's going to be a string. It's required on click, and this one's going to be a function, and it's not going to return anything back though, so we're going to return void, and then disable. This one is going to be a boolean, and it's optional, so we're going to say boolean. So we're going to add a question mark after it because it is not necessary yet. This is optional as well, and this one is either primary or secondary for its property. So we're going to say cons button is equal to this. We're going to pass in all of our properties. Disabled. We're going to set disabled to false. And we're going to say variant. We're going to default it to primary as well. Primary. And then we have to mention, oops, that's my lack of writing there. I wonder, props. Okay. I wonder if I could fix this a little prettier like this. Okay. So, we're going to say that. My thing, export default button is not defined. Button, B-U-T-T-O-N, button. Sometimes when you look at things too long, you get confused. That's it. I think what it was is just, I think I was too hasty. Sandbox doesn't like that, so I'll slow it down a little bit. Be right back. It's morning. I feel y'all. It's like I'm awake, but I'm not awake. So let's finish this baby. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it wanted me to take in some props. Okay, so it wanted me to. Okay, label, on click, disable, and variant. Okay, cool, great. Okay, so what we're gonna return is this, but actually the return can go like this because I know that it's gonna be more to it. So in the button, we're gonna have the label of click me, Label, we're gonna set that to equal the whatever properties the label is. On click is gonna be a function, and that is gonna be a function. Actually, okay. Take a step back. Okay, so what I know is I can build out the structure like this, and then the label is equal to this label right. Or sorry, label is not going to this right here. Within the button properties itself, we're gonna say the onClick will be equal to whatever the onClick hand flutter the onClick function will do. Disabled is going to be set to disabled. We're gonna make you disable. Let's do it as a ternary option. We're gonna do it as a ternary option, and the way to do that is disable is equal to disabled. We're gonna add some style to it, and the way you add style to this is that you have to do two objects, and the way you do two objects is one. So now we're gonna one curly brace is to do it in JSX code, and then you do two curly braces to exit out of it, just to do plain normal JavaScript code. And we're gonna say that cursor of this is equal that if disable is true, then we're gonna do light blue. We're gonna say not allowed. What we're gonna do, we'll state not allowed. Else we're gonna say click, or not allowed, otherwise we're gonna say the pointer for disabled. Oh, it's tiny. It's really tiny. Oh, sorry. Do it like this, and then we're gonna do the button like this because we need to add a label of here. So we're gonna do button on click the variant. We need to add a variant. Go to variant. Type children is not assignable to type. Oh, let's say might. I want to add also a background color. If this is equal, we're going to say the background color. You're going to say that if variant is alive, then we're going to say blue. Oh, red. Oh, it's there, but it's really, really tiny. We can make this a little bit bigger by adding some padding. In this padding here, if we're gonna say 16px too, all in a string, excuse me there. So this is gonna say padding here. It's gonna say top, bottom. Top. Typically, this one was set up for top and bottom. 16px is for your horizontal. That's what it's gonna do. We're gonna add some color. We're gonna say it's equal to white. We're gonna say the border is equal to none. Border radius 4 pixel. Okay. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is, now that we have it all set up like button like that, we can go ahead and get it started on here. Let me grab the rest of my coffee quick. Okay, so we're back, baby. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is that, so as you can see before, right here in our button, we have an on-click style disable and a book label. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and pass it all in. So we're gonna say label is equal to button. And you see that there's a label that was created because this was passed, and the reason why this works is because it is a property of the button component that we passed in. So just to play around if my variant works. Oh, primary. Okay, so variant, I'm gonna say your primary or secondary. I would have anticipated this one to be red. Variant is equal to secondary. This is basically saying that variant is equal to true. Because this one, if it's true, disable like this. See, as you can see, it is disabled. Interesting. Okay, but to do more fun stuff, let's do the on-click. On-click. Here we're gonna say that you are equal to a function. So when I click on you, we're gonna say the console.log clicked. Boot. Chrome DevTools for a pop-up. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Console. Did I not close you? Okay, so type error. Okay, how about I start all over? Okay, as you can see, okay, I'm starting to get used to this whole sandboxing. It's so exciting. It is exciting. I feel like every time that you learn something new, definitely embrace it, enjoy it, dive in it, dwell in it, dance in it. So this is very exciting stuff. My happiness capsule. Okay. As you can see, when I clicked on it, I was able to go ahead and be able to see my ending result. So let's go ahead and go back to our second challenge here. So our second challenge is we're gonna go ahead and create a to-do component. So what I'll keep it as is, but now we're gonna do a to-do component. So we're gonna go ahead and create a to-do component. Oh, let me just close out of that. Okay, to-do, and it is a TSX. So there is a difference between a .ts and a .tsx. I had to figure it out the hard way the other day, well, especially in Next.js, because I had to figure it out the hard way, because I was like, why isn't this front-end code working? Because I didn't do a TSX instead of a TS. You learn as you build, you learn as you grow. So, yes. Okay, let me write this out quickly. Our requirements that we need to do. So we need. Hi, hello. Thank you for following. Okay, but so yes. Okay, so we're gonna do a to-do component. We're gonna take in a text prop on delete function, a completed prop. Let me write it down here. Started writing out Python comments there. Completed prop. And then now I have to style it that the to-dos have a strike through. And then a delete button next to each to-do. Okay, so when I think about this, I don't think it's too complicated. I always say that, and I turn out to be like, yeah, digress. But anyway, so yeah, so This is a great start for all of us. Okay, so when I think about this, okay, so a text prop. So we take a text prop, we're gonna do an undelete function, a completed prop. I think about, okay, so let me write out the to-do function component. So let me just get the boilerplate ready, and then we're gonna do a return like this, and then now we're gonna export default to do. And I just want to make sure everything to do is working as is, that I can make sure that at least the function can kind of render. And I will go ahead and import into the main app to do from that component to do, and it does. So first and foremost, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that everything is just rendering. Is it sure? Let me go ahead. If I save, when I save in the sandbox, I think it will re-render. I was like, wait a second, those errors does not seem right, but okay. Alright, let's do this. Okay, so it's gonna take in a text prop on delete function. I'm just trying to think that for a text prop, do I want to do an interface? I'm gonna do an interface, and when I think about an interface, it's like it's almost like the way I think about like an interface. I don't know how you feel about interfaces, so feel free to let me know. I always love to know other people's thoughts as well. When I do interfaces, I think about it like a schema, like a MongoDB schema, like only these specific fields for these specific data types are allowed. If you stated the name is equal to a string, you can only pass in a name that equals to a string, and the name can never be like numbers or anything like that. So that's my idea of thinking what an interface is for TypeScript. So feel free to let me know as well. We're all learning here, so yeah. TD props. And in this prop, we're going to say the text is a string and it's required. So I'm going to go ahead and pass in our text. So we're going to pass in our text. We're going to pass in our text, and we're going to do a complete onDelete function. And so this is going to be a function, and it's going to pass in void, because I don't anticipate anything to be returned back. And then we have completed, which is a boolean. And onDelete, and then completed, we're going to set you to false right now. And then now we're going to say that we're going to pass you here. And we're going to say that text, the way I think about it, and to do it's a boolean. That's my fault. Okay, now I assigned all the assignments here because I never mentioned where it's gonna be coming from. Okay, so here, the way I think about doing a to-do props, you'll have a div, and in the div, we'll have your text. And then, well, so you have your text. The way I see it, you're gonna have your to-do, your text, you're gonna have your function. Technically, like within the state with the text, I would definitely do it in the state. Wouldn't you? If I just think, the way I think about this, okay, one thing at a time. So we're gonna render our text perfect, and then now we have a button that's gonna on-click. When you click on the button, so you have a button, and when you click on it, equal, it's gonna be invoked, and you can say that, handle delete. You're gonna do handle delete. Oops. And then button. Perfect. And then I would definitely do like a handle delete. Handle delete. I would remove it. And the way I would remove it, got my brain thinking. Okay, so the way I would remove it is I would say const handle delete. Const handle delete is equal to a function that's gonna be, hey, I'm gonna look for this ID, and then look for this ID in the array and remove it and return me. Well, you wouldn't remove it, but he would just like look for this ID and filter it out. Filter it out. Return a new set of array without the ID. It's braining. My brain is braining. Must be the coffee. I totally get why you guys drink coffee now. I get it. My time was like 6 a.m., but I'm hungry. I'll just studied. But in order to do that, I need the state. In the state, I would need to set text to. Okay, let's do this. This is really fun. Okay, so we're gonna do a state. In order to do a state, I need to import useState, a hook function that allows us to go ahead and work with state from the React. And within this function, it's gonna be an array. It's gonna be const. I'm just thinking, should it be? I think it should definitely be a to-do prop. Okay, we're gonna remove. Hi, thank you for following. Okay, so we're gonna remove the text, and the way I think about this is that it's gonna be a string, an array of strings, and to do an array of strings, we're gonna do it like that. And so we're gonna say const text set text is equal to the use state of the text. Oh, thank you, Jamdu. I appreciate you being here. Oh my goodness, say hi, guys. I always feel like I'm just talking to myself, so feel free to say hi. Be good to know where you guys are coming from. Let me know. Did I break it? Has any, because it does not have, okay, so a string of array. Text. Is it because of that? No, it shouldn't be. Text. I essentially want to, is it because I haven't used it yet? Because I'm trying to say that, hey, you're going to be in a string of array, const text. And the way I was thinking about doing it is text is equal to this string of array right here. I need to do laundry today. We need to do laundry today. We need to make breakfast, drink coffee. Identifier, so you can do this in 14 to 16. Okay, so yes, like this. Cannot access text before initialization. Is it because I'm gonna try to say this. So just okay. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier, but we're gonna keep it like this. It's a little bit prettier to see. Okay, so why are you mad? So we're gonna import use state from React. We're gonna do an interface up to do props. We're gonna do an onDelete, do completed boolean onDelete. Yes, we're gonna pass in the props. We're gonna say that hey, text is equal to this. Cannot access text before initialization. Yeah, let me delete this. I'm saying that this is oops. Try not to save. Sorry. I'm trying to initialize this to this. Any thoughts on this one? Let me know. Because the way I see it. Okay, so import state. Yes. We're gonna have an onDelete. We're gonna have completed. Yes. Then we're gonna have text to this. This is gonna delete. And we're gonna say that because text is gonna be in a registering. So text dot map. Map through every text. We're gonna map through every text, and we're gonna see where there text. And you can pass an ID as well. Map through. And we're gonna look for ID is equal. Is equal to text dot. And we're gonna map through text ID where ID is equal to this, and then we're gonna do dot filter on it. Actually, mapping in the filter. We'll do the same thing. So we're gonna do the filter. Let's see. Any ideas? Okay, so let's go. This happens to do component. Okay, so this fixes text. Okay, so cannot us. I don't know what's up with that. With the birds, yeah. Okay, so I have to take a step back and think about this, because am I initializing everything too fast and too much in here? Like, this should just be the boilerplate. It's gonna be this, and So he did hate that. So we're gonna do button on click delete, and it's gonna delete. And what we're gonna do here though is say the style. Style is equal to display dot flex. We're gonna have our line items. Oops. Equal. Let's do end for fun. I know end would never exist, but we'll do it for fun. We'll do our gap of. That's my fault. It's a key value pair of 8 pixel. Oops. Not what I was trying to do. And then I want to make sure that we'll do just one for now. Text. And we're gonna do span style equal text decoration is equal to, if it's completed, it's equal to a line through, else it's just nothing special. Oops. And then we have to close this out, span, and this is going to be where we render our text. And to do this, let's go ahead and render it here. So we're going to do, sorry, let me grab a little bit more coffee as well. Be right back. Okay, we're back in business, so let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so what I want to do outside of here is I want to create my to-dos, and it's going to be an array of lists. And in this list, it's going to have, it's an array of objects. So think of it as like think of it as, think of it as a JSON. So we're going to have an ID of 1, we're going to have the text, do laundry, we say laundry, because we're just going to shortcode it, our completed field, and we're going to say it's false right now. And then we have another one, ID of 2, text, cook, and then we're going to create our completed of false. And then we have an ID of 3, text, fish. We're going to go fishing today. We need to fetch for our food somehow. So we're gonna have that, and then now for our to-dos, in this one right here, we're gonna say well, technically, you would do that. Okay, so I think about this as our component tree. Our app is at the top component tree, and then it will pass down that to our child component, which to do is our child component. To do's is equal to do's is equal to do's. So then this one would get to do's. So we're gonna handle that, we did that, and then we're gonna say to do. We're gonna import use state, yes, and now we're gonna say const to do list. To do list is equal. That's nasty. I'm gonna create another. For now, we're not using. I always like to try to kind of clean up after my code a little bit. Handle delete. And it is triggered because it cannot find a handle delete function. So let's go ahead and figure out this handle delete function. So this one is a, so the ID is going to be a number, as you can see, based off of our one before. We're going to say that, but I need to set state here though. Then let's do in state again. New state is equal from import use state from React. And here I need to say that const the to do's set to do's is equal to use state of whoa. And then this one's initial to do's. Well, I don't even have initial to do's here. Not sure why console is writing so much. To do's. So const handle delete, and in the delete function, we're gonna say whoa. Okay. I would like to disappear you for a second. Okay, so we're gonna start our new to do's. So this is going to be set to do's is a function that's going to set our new state, and it will update the to do state. So set to do's, and we're going to say that to do's dot filter on the to do, where the to do say that a couple times. To do dot ID equals the ID that gets passed in. So. Well, sorry. We want to filter on the to-do where it does not equal the ID, because we don't want to return the one that does equal the ID back. So. This one, our app is going to come here from the to-dos. To-dos, 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 to-dos. I was like, it's really a hot mess. Are y'all drinking coffee this morning? Just me. Aussi, matey. Aussi. To do is the boilerplate. That's okay. So we're definitely learning the to-do list. And there's another to-do. Yeah, let me pull out my files. Component to-do, and we have another one called to-do list. .tsx. Okay, so I was just thinking about it, and I was like, it's kind of gnarly right now. Like, this is really gnarly. Like, it shouldn't be like this. Because typically, with React functions, you want to make it usable. And I felt like when we initially did it, it was const to-do list. Because this, as always, we're going to start with our function, get out, clean up a little bit, return, or not return, export default to-do list. So we know that that's going to get returned. I just think there's just a lot of noise within the to-do, and I want to remove the separations of concerns a little bit. And then we want this one to come over here. It was all up here, yes. And then button on click. Okay. Up. Feel free to talk, chime in. So we're gonna do the to-do. I also want to-do will actually go into the to-do list. So this one wouldn't be what I would render. To-do list. To-do list. From to-do list. And we want to render to-do list. Cool. To-do list. Return. Okay, so from here we want to import to-do. And here, to-do. Initial to-dos is not report. Okay, initial to-dos. Oops, or take you. Oh no, I don't have. I don't have a mouse, so I am trying to do. We'll call you initial to-dos then. Initial to-dos. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna return. Okay, so the function here, we're gonna do our div. I know that within React you need like a main container. So we're gonna do this as our main container, and we're gonna say that for initial to-dos, we're gonna map through .map the to-do. We're gonna map the to-do. We're gonna say that the key, always important to list out the key. The key is very unique. It allows React to know which item is updated, remove, replace, or updated if you need to replace a property within it. So we're gonna do their tags as well to do whatever the to-do.id, or sorry, to-do.tags based off the to-do right here. And then we're gonna do completed is based off of to-do.completed. Okay. The void is not assignable to the React node. Let's think. Concept is equal to that. We're gonna say that the to-do list is equal to that. handle delete, we're gonna do a filter. Undeleted on delete is equal to this function of where handle delete will take in the to do the ID that we're gonna pass in. Okay, so it's not initial to do's, it's the current state that we currently have right now. And then we're gonna go ahead and look at the current state of what we have of this to-dos list. We're gonna go ahead and iterate through it. The map of this one. I always this one. Key is equal to ID. So we're gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cannot read the property of object syntax. Unexpected token of a blank. Key text completed. Text on delete completed. Text on delete completed. I think I forgot to pass in the ID. ID text. ID number. Nope, I think it's my to-do list. Cannot be used as J as a return type. Export default to-do list. To-do list. Because you're saying export cons. Element type is expected as string to pass in, but you didn't pass that in. We're gonna return this, and then you don't like this. Toggle, we're gonna say this, handle delete the ID number. You're gonna filter on every item in the list. You're gonna look at this specific ID to make sure it does not equal to the ID. You're gonna return key is equal to this text completed to-do dot completed. On delete, we're gonna do that. We're gonna pass in the ID into the hand delete function. And then we're gonna do that. We're gonna close it. This one, I'm not sure what that is. Check the render method of app. Okay. It is from the component. We're gonna say has no default export. Did you mean to export? Did you mean to import? It's this one. So export const export default function. I think it's the way that I'm writing the export that's causing me some complications. So const initial to do, yes, export const to do list is equal to that. Wait, be right back. I'm gonna fight myself. It's always like this. Okay, so the reason why it didn't work out for me is because I did export const to-do list. But when I did that, I just did export const. So I needed to-do list. I needed to import it with the curly braces. And because what I const and then I, okay, so this would still work like this, and if I delete it, it should disappear because we found that ID. I wonder if it'll tell you. And console is clear. Perfect. That's okay too, cause I want to print. Oh, sorry. I'm always just thinking in print ID and to do that ID. Sorry, apologize about that. I print I highly recommend you to go ahead and do this some days too, to make sure that you play around with the sandbox and add new IDs. Console.log, and I want here to say, I want to see deleting ID. I want this to be this ID that I pass in, and I want this to be console.log, and this one is verifying ID and to-do state, and I want this to be, oops, yeah, no, that's okay, state, or sorry, to-do.id. Expected dot to-dos, that map of the T unexpected token. Did I? Okay, so I'm missing a parenthesis. Let me just clear out my console. Delete. Okay, so I deleted ID 2, and I'm bearing ID in here, and it's the length of 2, but 02322. Okay, so more to come on this. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning. I hope to do this more in the morning.